what we're looking at for 2012 is after 2011, all I got from clients and groups of farmers was weeds, weeds and more weeds from 2011. Where the hell did these come from? That clean paddock in 2010 of canola is full of weeds this year. Full of them. We may have lost some of the many battles in 2011, but to win the war on weeds, we must understand and know our enemies. And this is where I think some of us have forgotten a few things. Some of the good information that's coming out now, some of it's coming from Gurjeet Gill last week in South Australia, looking at mechanisms of why barleygrass and brome grass in particular have adapted to our management styles. So when you're on a good thing, as Steve Powell says, don't stick to it. All right, whether that be a herbicide, cultivation, not cultivation, sheeping it, whatever it is. This is some information from Ellery and Chapman in 2001, looking at how ryegrass adapted to our systems and how from north to south, up at Geraldton, germinability through time, versus down here, you're looking at Wongan Hills. So unfortunately, those northern people have had a great season this year, have it easy. Ryegrass is simple, most of it comes up pretty quick and easy. Us southerners, no, I'm actually a northerner now. Moved to Dongara last year, good views of the beach. And what happens is, as you move south, the ryegrass starts getting a bit more temperamental and lasts longer in the soil. So you've got to think longer and stronger, maybe 2 or 3 years out rather than 1 or 2. All right, so there's a big difference from north to south in the state. So you need to know these things. So many paddocks, the weed battles that we're facing, the king of ryegrass control, clethodim, as we've seen yesterday from Michelle Owen, 65% of the samples she tested was clethodims starting to show resistance. 65% of randomly sampled paddocks. So the king clethodim is dead. Long live the new king. My apologies to Syngenta about Box of Gold, but Sakura I'll pick on. All right, but it's a matter of making sure that these things last longer. You use Sakura as part of a team to control weeds, IWM, the stories we heard yesterday. This results in many years of active control, as we saw from the presentation yesterday. Using the new king without support will win some weed battles, but the weed war could be lost. And one of the hassles I have at the moment is, and I can see this in the mind's eye, when you go into a program with a particular client who has had a situation where it was canola or lupins or whatever in 2010, nice and clean, last year put it in there and got their butt kicked. But it's on their best paddocks is where the weeds are, because they've been pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And so what we've got to be very careful of, one of the biggest messages, and Busey went through this yesterday, if we go and put it onto these high pressure paddocks, we're going to blow Sakura very, very quickly. 3 to 4 hits and we're dead and buried. And it'll be very similar with Box of Gold. So just be very careful about how you are approaching these paddocks. Use IWM and try and keep your clients from keeping on going with the system they've been doing. The second thing to look at is increasing the flexibility of nitrogen application and availability. We saw this last year in a lot of places where I'm not talking about whether it's urea or UAN, Flexi-N, those sorts of methods of applying nitrogen, but more looking at how the system of application is done on a property. Some farmers have got great systems and are highly flexible. So they could put on 2 or 3 hits of urea or UAN or ammonium sulphate, whatever it might be. But actually start looking at their systems of application rather than the cheapest sources, urea versus UAN versus, or SOAs, whatever it is. Look at the systems of how they're putting on their nitrogen on their crop. Now I know there's a lot of people out there who have been working on that for a long time, but look at the machinery, whether they should look at contractors or not. The labour side of things, there's, as I see it, the GFC has been quite handy. We're actually finding a few more overseas people with experience coming our way. I'm tending to find when I visit farms a lot more Irish accents around the place, and they're actually pretty good workers from what I've seen. So, sorry, Jerry. So there's, then we look at nitrogen source and the way the nitrogen is released from your different sources of nitrogen, whether it be ammonium sulphate, which takes around 3 weeks from wetting up to becoming available. Urea is about a week, and DAP, MAP is about 2 weeks. So just taking into account those sorts of things when you're looking at trying to give a gentle dose of nitrogen rather than a super hit, all in one hit at seeding, which is what the old doctrine used to be. So from being inflexible, I think there's a lot of dollars left in the paddock, whether it's overdosing it or underdosing that particular crop. Now, pastures at a cropping regime, I think it's time, guys. We're back. Thanks, Mike, for nodding positively. Focus on the it's very interesting. You listened to the stories yesterday from Graham McConnell, and it's the most profitable farmers around the place who make a consistent profit are always second. They're rarely first, they tend to be second. So the potholes along the road of adoption have been filled in by the early adopters. They hit a pothole every now and then, but they make a lot more profit. They sort of, how do you say, get carried on the coat strings behind the ones that are out in front. All right? So I'm focusing on the tried and true with a taste of the new varieties that are being released around the place. So give them a go. Beware of mixing too many. I see a lot of problems where we find that the herbicidal tolerances, the grazing capacity of different mixtures of pastures can be antagonistic to each other, and a lot of farmers and advisors don't think about that long enough and hard enough. So you need to think about that for 2012. And is super back? If you grow it, you must use it. Don't just go and put on super because it's the right thing to do and da-da-da-da. Make sure you use that feed. Very quickly, the pest management in crops. Be on the ball. There's about 3 listed there that I think we need to look at. Long, hard and strong. Blackleg in canola. Farmers have their own pathotypes from what I'm seeing around the place. If you keep growing cobbler for 4 years in a row, you have Ewing variety cobbler attacking blackleg. All right, so be aware of that. The newer wheat varieties, things have changed. Mace, all I'm hearing from clients is mace, mace and mace from north to south. And whoever's got the EPR on that, welcome to the Millionaires Club. The powdery mildew in barley, it's going to be very interesting to see where we go with that and how we handle it over the next few years. And the antagonism between we want Bodan in the marketplace, we want Bodan, we want Bodan, we want Bodan because it gives the best moulding quality, rah, 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 but it's the biggest pain in the bum in the paddock. There's a real nexus we've got to get over, all right? And that's got to be worked on long and strong over the next year or two. All right, that's my quick 10 minutes of the 4 major things that I see coming in 2012 and some of the things I think you need to look out for. Got any questions about those? Keep them for the end. I'm going to need to introduce Peter Rowe from Bank West, and he's going to cover the financial side of things.